Okay. Hello, welcome to Life in Pages by Books2Africa, where we discuss life in pages, in chapters, the different events, the different ups and downs of life, and the lessons we learn from it. So today I have Jiko and Lengdung. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
So we're all part of the Books2Africa marketing team, and we're putting together this series, Life in Pages, where we're going to be bringing interesting guests on the show. We're going to be talking to authors, we're going to be talking to entrepreneurs, we're going to be talking to activists, all sorts of interesting people who will bring us lessons from their lives and, basically give us a kind of sneak peek into their story and what it is they've been through. So we thought we're going to record this session as a first one to kind of just have a chat with the team and, and just talk a little bit about what you guys can expect from Life in Pages. So let me just throw a random question out there. By the way, this is completely unscripted, unprepared. So please bear with us if somebody answers are a bit choppy or if people take too much time. But let me put it this way. First question, what did you want to be when you grew up? As a child, what did you want to become when you grew up? They always ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was your answer as a child?
When I was a child, I think in the beginning, I wanted to be a police officer. And I couldn't remember why I wanted to be like that. I think it's just very cool and always fighting for justice, something like that. And then when I grew up a little bit, I wanted to be a teacher, also a writer, something like that. Yeah, it's just maybe I think I read some books, then my idea changed. But after that, I couldn't remember. I think I just didn't have any dreams. Yeah, what about you, Lyndon?
Yeah, I think I wanted to be an engineer at some point. That was because I like losing things up, lose the television, lose the remote, just lose everything, lose the windows. I was just losing things. And then at some point it evolved. Then I wanted to be a footballer. I just wanted to be seen on TV. I wanted to be popular. People wear my shirts and have my name at the back of the shirt. Well, yeah. I think it just got to a point I realized none of that is going to work.
Why do you say that? What was the point? Because that's an interesting, that's an interesting thing you say. At some point, you realized it wasn't going to work. And when, that is a defining moment in most people's lives. The moment where you realize you might not achieve some of the dreams you had in mind. What was that like, Lyndon, when you, what was that point when you realized, and what was that like for you? Obviously, what did you do next?
Yes, for me, it was where I grew up. I noticed the people around me. Nearly everyone around me played football, but of course, not everyone was good. I was really good. I did very well, participated in competitions. So, but then I looked at it. How many of the people I know became successful or became popular footballers? How many of the people I saw rose from this level to become professional footballers at the international level? The number was very insignificant. In fact, at that point, there was just one guy who had gone international, and there was just plenty of us. And it just suddenly dawned on me, dude, you're in a competition that your chances of winning are just absolutely zero. I mean, so just find something else. And that was when I started reading. And the funny thing was, the time for training is usually 4 p.m. And that's usually the time after school when you can pursue other things like reading, trying computers, and all of that. So as soon as I realized that the football team was not going to work, I started reading, I read some more, started manipulating the computers, and lucky enough, that's what I'm doing now, working with computers.
So it wasn't because you were terrible at football then, I guess.
Yeah, no, it wasn't because I was terrible. It was just the statistics were just against me. I mean, it's just think about becoming a general now. I mean, a general today is not going to be it's not going to be an easy thing to become, or think of trying to become a president. Of course, it's good for people to aspire to have big dreams like that, but it's good to be realistic.
And what about you, Chico? At what point did you realize that the armed forces or the police wasn't?
It's just like I realize it's just like some fantasy. It's in my imagination. Because they always look cool and they always look very brave, something like that. But the reality is more complicated than they may face a lot of difficulties or very dangerous things, which I haven't thought about. So I just realized that's not for me.
I think you becoming a police officer, Jiko, will be. I can't imagine it. I mean, if you catch the criminals and they tell you, please just let us go, you're going to tell them we can't go.
Yeah, I may feel sympathy for the criminals.
Yeah. But I think there's something there in perhaps it's, because for me, like, being a pilot at one point, I wanted to be a pilot. At another point, I wanted to be an accountant, because I thought, I mean, obviously playing as a child, one of my toys was the airplane, and I always used to fly it around. And so you have that kind of imagination of like, it'd be nice to actually fly a real plane. And then at some point, I was like, wanted to be an accountant because I just felt like, oh, accountants have a lot of money, because they do it. So, yeah, it was kind of, I think it's weird. Where do you guys think we get these ideas from? Do you think it's something that we're born with, or is it our childhood that kind of influences what we end up gravitating towards, or is it something more like what, talents and skills that we have, like that we're born with, maybe?
I think that a lot of this has to do with the people around us and the kind of environment we grow up to become. There was something the former United States President Donald Trump said. He said, in a society where all the heroes are terrorists, everyone wants to become a terrorist. In a society where all the heroes are bankers, everyone wants to become a banker. In a society where all the heroes are footballers, everyone wants to become a footballer. So there's that part where it's our environment and the people closest to us, like our parents, our mothers, our fathers, our uncles. During childhood, our minds are impressionable. Whatever we see that is alluring, like you said, I mean, you wanted to be an accountant because you thought accountants had money. And maybe you wanted to be a pilot because planes are big things. And I wanted to be a footballer because I watch a lot of football on the screen. I see these thousands of people chanting for these guys. So, but if I've never watched a football match, there's no way I would have wanted to be a footballer. If I'd never seen someone.
Has to do with kind of what you're exposed to as a child.
Exactly. That's just what I wanted to say.
And Jiko, so do you think perhaps was there a lot of crime around you? Is that why you wanted to become a police officer?
I wouldn't say so, because I would prefer to say it's more like we are born in a certain way, because we may be exposed to many things, but we will be attracted to some certain things which other people may not be interested. So I would say there must be something inside us that guide us in a certain direction. We didn't even know it.
Yeah, because I mean, you earlier you mentioned that the police officers have the smart uniforms and so on. So I kind of agree that there's an element of that sort of what your hero image is. What you think is cool, what which is very important, because we're talking about role models here. We're talking about what as a young child, what you think, a role model is, what you aspire to, what you think is cool, you know, as opposed to what you're saying, which is there's something inside the child also that based on their personality and based on just something about them, you know, their instincts that just drives them towards certain things and drives them away from certain things, you know. Yeah, because I mean, when I think of my life, I think as a child, one thing I remember very clearly is I've always been this kind of person who goes around organizing things. Like every maybe month, you know, I'll get bored of the way the chairs are arranged. I'll get bored of the way the room is arranged. Every now and then I'll just go and I'll start moving the bed. I'll change it over there. I'll move the shelf over there. I'll, you know, just change the arrangement of things just to kind of, you know, make it look different, you know. So I don't know. And now today I kind of see that in the way that, you know, when in my job, in my everyday life, you know, I've come to recognize that that's actually like something that is just part of me. You know, that's just how I operate. You know, I like to change things. I like to make things look fresh. I like to, you know, innovate. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that, Langdon? Sorry, I saw your hand was up.
Yeah, I agree. That's
so it's between instinct on the one hand. What would you say your instinct, your natural instinct is at this point in terms of your career and your life generally? What are some of your natural instincts, if you want to share with us?
I like seeing the thought angle to a thing. I like seeing new perspectives to it. And yeah, I like solving problems. So I like to, my life gets boring when I don't have something I'm looking up to, some work I'm looking up to, some writing, some research, just some random things. So I like solving problems. I like looking at the data, just look at the things that people are not seeing. Some my natural instincts.
Jiko?
I would say I care about people. Sometimes I care more about the minorities or the people who have less privilege. I think from my childhood, I always pay more attention to people like that. And yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, for me, I mean, yeah, like I said, my instinct, I'm kind of I'm drawn towards kind of, you know, things that look good in terms of like from an art perspective, or just I'm very curious whenever I see something that is well designed or like a building that looks cool. I'm always like, you know, how did they design this? How did they make this? You know, what material? Is it wood? Is it metal? You know, yeah, so I think, yeah, I mean, when I put all of these together, and especially for, you know, you mentioned minorities, for those of us who, for example, are from Africa, or, you know, if you think about the role models we have, you know, the role models we tend to have as children are, obviously we have parents, you know, for those people who do, but you also have like TV, right? It mostly comes from TV and from media, from movies, you know, and maybe looking around your community, the people that are called the bosses, you know, the people that people chant for and clap for and people consider in high esteem. And in Nigeria, growing up, it tended to be, you know, on TV, there's a lot of programs from like churches and pastors, and, you know, there's like one program after the other. You know, pastors are held, you know, religious leaders are held in a sort of very high esteem, as though they're almost like a godlike esteem. You know, everything they say is like God said it. Everything they do is like that's the standard you should aspire to. And so I find that to be quite interesting, but also there's a lot of missed opportunities. How many business leaders did you see on TV growing up? You know, how many leaders in tech did you see on TV growing up? it wasn't glamorous. In fact, to be a techie was considered to be geeky, and you're the weirdo, and you get bullied, and so obviously, or in the case of in China, for example, which is a very authoritarian state, everything is very kind of the army and the police, and and very strict, so it's kind of like I think it's weird, because it's then very difficult later in life to break away from that stereotype. For example, I mean, I have a lot of friends, and almost every African, every Nigerian I know who, once they become successful, especially the Christian ones, it's almost like everyone wants to be a pastor. Everyone somehow ends up either preaching in church, or becoming a church leader, or becoming some kind of deacon, or which I understand. That I'm a Christian, and I understand where that's coming from. As a person of faith, you do have a responsibility in your faith community to provide leadership, to provide guidance to the younger ones, and so on and so forth. But surely God didn't create, if you believe in God, didn't create all of us to be pastors. So how do you find, as a Christian, as a woman, as a man, as a Black man, how do you find your uniqueness in a society where everybody, the crowd, everybody is going one direction, or tends to go in one direction? How do you find that uniqueness? How do you find that thing that makes you stand out? And how do you stay exceptional? Final question for me.
Wow. That's a very interesting question, especially because maybe I'm speaking from a culture that is very community-like. The African culture is very community-like, and so any outlier is considered to be a heretic, should be punished. But I think for me, what would be helpful is to find other heroes, or to find other motivations that broke through the paths to. Of course, the examples would be very rare, maybe just one in plenty. But if you can be able to find others who broke out of the same genes, not necessarily in your culture, in other places. For instance, Mahatma Gandhi influenced Martin Luther King, both different countries, different times. But so I think one important thing is to find that kind of thing, that kind of mentorship, and then to build a cycle of people. One of the things I believe is, no matter what you want to do in life, someone has done it before, something similar, or someone is doing something similar. Find a way, connect to them, and to encourage each other to keep going on the lonely path. And lastly is to build up your own conviction. Nothing is going to beat that. If you're not convinced, or if you're not convicted of the truth of the path you want to follow, there's no way you succeed in it. Ultimately, like Abraham Lincoln said, your resolution to succeed should supersede any other thing. So your own resolution to stay on the path should supersede any other thing. Maybe things will work. We never know. The road less traveled.
Deep words there. Chico?
I think because in China, now everything is more like money oriented. If you get money, you're very successful. If you don't, then you are kind of a loser. So, but I think, as I said before, I believe we all born in certain ways, and sometimes if you follow the social the successful image, you may find it very uncomfortable, or you don't feel like yourself. So I think we should trust our instinct inside us, and don't compromise, although it's difficult. So I also agree with London in some ways. You find like not an idol, some models you admire or you want to be. But I think what is also important is you find someone really believe in you and support you whatever you want to do, and they trust you. You can do it. And maybe they share the same dreams as you, or maybe they don't. They just trust. They just want you to be yourself. I think to find some supportive people around you is very important.
Great. No, that's you guys have. I mean, those are amazing answers. Those are amazing answers, honestly. Because yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. You have to be. You have to. It's tough sometimes. It's tough. But when you read and you explore and you find that, Langdon, you mentioned Martin Luther King. He was a pastor, but he was also a community leader, and he was an activist, and he changed the world in many ways, right? So the fact that you are something doesn't stop you from being something else. And I find that people always try to put you in a box because they want to understand you and they want to limit you and they want to categorize you and label you. Whereas you can be so many things at the same time. You don't always have to be one thing, you think about people like, William Wilberforce, he was he's known as somebody who was a great abolitionist, somebody who contributed to ending slavery, but a huge part of his story was his faith as well. So I find that I think sometimes, people just, if you are a Christian, then you must do A, B, C, D, E, and you must not do, F, G, H, I, And I find that sometimes it's the challenge is trying to just turn your deaf ears, because there are a lot of people who come at you. Oh, if you're a liberal, then you must be against this. If you're a conservative, why are you supporting this? If you are a Black person, how come you're supporting this person? How come you're making such comments? And we don't understand that people are complex and people are multi-layered, So I find that very, very frustrating. And that's one of the reasons why actually I don't have a social media account anymore. Personally, I don't use social media anymore. I mean, this might be news, but maybe this is another discussion for the next episode, social media and the benefits. But the point is, I think
that's a piece of
yeah, exactly. So I think I came to a point, just to give you a bit of a taster, I came to a point with social media that I realized it puts a lot of pressure on you to be something that you're not, And when you are measuring, when you are gauging yourself as to what I should do, who I should be, how I should look, what I think, what path I should take, a lot of it, rather than looking inwards into your instincts, into your background, into your story, into your truth, a lot of times we're looking outward. What will people say? What would they think of me? How would they react to this? Would they accept this? What if I fail? What would they say? They'll laugh at me, And a lot of times I believe that we make wrong decisions because we're looking outward, So I got to a point in my life where it was difficult to remain convicted while listening to 1,000 voices. So I got to a point where I had to basically shut down social media for a short period of time, so that I could just listen inwards and really, really listen to myself and listen to my heart and listen to where, I believe God is trying to pull me to, and my faith is trying to pull me to. And once I got strong enough in that conviction, then I was ready to come back to the world. And, I might then meet people who are criticizing, people who are condemning, people who are hating, people who are saying this will never work. And I'm strong enough to shut them out because I'm not listening to them. But then after that period of time, I just decided, actually, maybe I can survive. Let's see how long I can go without social media. And it's been years now. So anyway, that's a conversation for another time. Any final words before we close today's session?
Well, I I like some words by Steve Jobs. He said, "Here's to the misfits, the crazy ones, to don't pack in square holes." And he ended with saying that the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Mm.
So,
Very true. Very true. Okay, Jacob.
I think it's a very good talk today, and I hope we can all keep on what we are doing now to our dream, maybe.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Next time, so you now have a taste of what Life in Pages is all about. We're going to try and actually get some people to join in and ask Q&As next time as well. And we're going to have a special guest for you. So hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, of course, and keep supporting Books to Africa. See you on the next episode.